Let's cut to the chase. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant could be one of the greatest 1-2 offensive punches the league has ever seen if they are deployed in this way. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. If you have not already subscribed, go ahead and do that below. Today, we're keeping it simple. We're talking Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and the best way to deploy them, the pick and roll. It's been long believed that the pick and roll is the oldest play in the book. While that can be debated, what cannot be debated is that the pick and roll itself is the bedrock to modern read and react offenses. The way the pick and roll works is pretty straightforward. And keep in mind, this is a very simplified explanation. We'll be getting more into the details in just a second. An offensive player sets a screen on the ball handler's defender, and from there, the ball handler attacks and either looks to score or dishes to the original screener. Now keep in mind, pick and roll offense is done to put the ball handler's defender behind the play and or set up a mismatch, placing the screener's man on the ball handler and the ball handler's man on the screener. Again, the pick and roll is done for a myriad of reasons, but those are the main two I want to highlight just at this second. Most teams run a heavy majority of their pick and roll sets for their best soloist creators. And in general, the ability to create one's own offense is what makes up the DNA of most of the superstars in this league. Now, your Brooklyn Nets, well, they possess two of such players. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, they can create their own offense from 3 levels of the floor. At the rim while drawing free throws, the mid-range, and then of course the three-point arc. I'm not being hyperbolic about this statement either. These guys can pull up off the dribble from literally everywhere on the court. Don't believe me? Here's Kevin Durant's shooting accuracy stats from the rim, the short mid-range, the long mid-range, the corner threes, and the non-corner threes courtesy of cleaning the glass for his entire career. The thing to note is that these are sorted by percentiles, which is comparing Durant to his position. Blue represents below average and orange represents above average. And dude, this chart looks like frickin' Halloween. Look how much orange there is. And here are Kyrie Irving's shooting accuracy stats for his career. Similarly Halloweenish, no? And it's why if you put them in an offense that coerces as many mismatches as possible, while also placing the ball in the hands of Brooklyn's best players, I bet things would come out pretty promising for Brooklyn. Based on Kyrie Irving's 90th percentile pick and roll ball handler statistics from his inaugural Brooklyn season, and Kevin Durant's 92nd percentile roll man stats from his second season in the Bay, I'd say the numbers, courtesy of Synergy Statistics, certainly back that claim. And with all that said, let's break down some film. Now, before we get into looking at Kevin Durant's role in a pick and roll offense, I want to make one thing clear. Historically speaking, Kevin Durant is not exactly known for being an on-ball screener. In fact, I detailed this phenomenon recently in an article of mine. Per Synergy Statistics, in his 3-year Warrior career, Kevin Durant qualified as the pick and roll big just 97 total times. Even with that near 7-foot frame that we normally see on the screening end of the pick and roll, historically speaking, Kevin Durant just hasn't really made on-ball screening a part of his game. Here, you can see the power of a Kevin Durant ball screen as his shooting gravity gives Russell Westbrook a free lane to the basket. If paired with a 3-point capable ball handler like, say, I don't know, Kyrie Irving, notice the strain that Durant's screening puts on the defense as they try to guard 2 multi-level scorers. Picture Kevin Durant in Joe Harris's spot here, and you'll see just how little space Kyrie Irving requires after receiving a screen to pull up. If the defense sends 2 to the ball, like the Cavs do here with Steph Curry, you can always slip a pass to Durant on the low block and let him isolate. The guy's a freaking skyscraper with a buttery stroke, and he can shoot over just about anybody, and he does so here, rather willingly, over Kyle Korver. Of course, Durant doesn't exclusively have to roll to the basket after setting a screen. He can perform what's known as a pick and pop, relocating behind the arc after setting the screen for the open long-range look. Here's another look at that play type, with Kyrie Irving, an underrated passer in his own right who dished out 6.4 assists last year, wedging a nice strong hand, one-handed bounce pass to Kevin Love, who, similar to Kevin Durant, doesn't require much space to get his shot off due to his stature and quick stroke. Let's move away from traditional pick and roll and pick and pop and get a little bit funky. Inverting the ball screen is perhaps my favorite variation of the pick and roll itself. Allow me to explain. As we all know, in your regular old pick and roll, typically it's a taller player who's setting a screen for the ball handler. Now, in the inverted pick and roll, it's the ball handler who's setting a screen for the taller player. And you can see that here as Steph Curry clears a bunch of space for Kevin Durant, who, as we've seen many times, needs only an inch of space to detonate from deep. For that last inverted ball screen clip, picture Kyrie Irving in place of Steph Curry. I'm sure you guys can see it. Should the Nets want to involve one of their ferociously rolling centers while also taking a little bit of the on-ball screening load off of Kevin Durant's shoulders, they can run what is called a Spain pick and roll, or stack pick and roll. That's another name. The play design is pretty simple. It's like your average pick and roll, where a rolling center like Clint Capella in these clips, or in Brooklyn's case, DeAndre Jordan and Jarrett Allen, comes up to set a screen for the ball handler. Where it really gets funky is when a third perimeter player, in these clips it's Eric Gordon and Trevor Ariza, in Brooklyn's case this would be Kevin Durant, sets a back screen, which is a screen that faces the opposite baseline, for the rim runner. This does two things. It gives the rim runner a little bit more space when they rampage towards the rim, but it can also confuse the defense, giving the perimeter player some room when they pop to the top of the arc. I mean, shoot, doesn't this sound like a pretty great way to get Kevin Durant wide freaking open? Or DeAndre Jordan or Jarrett Allen sailing towards the hoop for alley-oops? Or Kyrie Irving open for easy layups? One thing to note is that this is straight out of Mike D'Antoni's playbook, back when Houston, actually had centers. Now that he's in Brooklyn, who's to say he won't bring the Spain pick and roll with him and help Steve Nash run the stack pick and roll with Brooklyn's many tantalizing pieces? The Nets could also run some pistol given their personnel. Picture Kyrie Irving in Karis LeVert's spot and Kevin Durant in Joe Harris's spot. To begin, the ball handler dribbles toward the sideline where he's met by his screening perimeter teammate. After setting the screen, the perimeter player sprints toward the top of the arc, where he receives a flare screen from his big man teammate. Here, in this clip, it's Jarrett Allen. From there, it's just read or react. The ball handler can dribble towards the basket, give the ball to his big man teammate, or dish the rock to that perimeter player coming off the flare screen. 6 minutes in, did you really think I wasn't gonna mention horns, which is essentially traditional pick and roll and pick and pop combined into one? The setup is pretty simple. The ball handler has two screens to pick from, with one screener rolling to the basket and the other popping to the three. This is a great way to involve DeAndre Jordan or Jarrett Allen into the pick and roll offense with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. As you can tell from these selected clips, horns can really shuffle up matchups and confuse a defense. Using Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving in the pick and roll doesn't just benefit those two specific players. It allows Steve Nash to use some of Brooklyn's supplementary pieces in ways they maybe historically haven't been used in the past. For example, Karis LeVert was only utilized as an off-ball cutter 45 total times last season. That's nothing. This is obviously pretty surprising given Karis LeVert's quick twitch athleticism, his ability to finish at the cup with finesse, and his God-given gift of drawing contact. Knowing that he's the third banana to Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, he's going to have to find creative ways to score, and I think this is a great way to do just that. Come on, Steve Nash, let me live out my Karis as a cutter dream. And then there's the newly re-signed Joe Harris, who already canned 53.9% of his wide-open threes last season, along with 44.6% of his catch-and-shoot tray balls. Dude, imagine how many open looks he would get playing alongside a Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving pick and roll. It'd be madness. To get an idea of just how open supporting players can be while playing alongside a pick and roll that features two all-world scoring talents, here's Kevin Love canning a comically open three-pointer after the Kyrie Irving LeBron James pick and roll. That's just easy pickings for Joey Buckets. If there's one thing to take away from this video, it's this. The best way to run a modern offense is to feature your best players cohesively together in as many actions as possible. For the Brooklyn Nets, who boast Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, both of whom can score over defenders of all shapes and sizes, this means having them screen for one another in a heavy spread pick and roll offense. It'll allow the both of them to eat up on mismatches while also showcasing their transfixing offensive gifts. And maybe most importantly of all, it makes life easy on their teammates. And I'm personally really curious to see what Steve Nash implements with this highly talented cast of Brooklyn Nets. Pick and roll or not, it's going to be a very fun season, and I'm excited to share it with you guys. And there we have it. Thank you for watching my Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant pick and roll film breakdown. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe, as this channel is still growing, and follow me on Twitter. But don't stop there. Share it on Facebook, Twitter, or Reddit. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that I also have a general NBA podcast called Basketball and More. It's also broadcasted as a live stream, which you can go find on the website sportscaster.com. On that podcast, I feature other credentialed reporters like myself from across the globe to talk about, well, pretty much every single team in the league. Go ahead and check that out for me and give it a review on Apple Podcasts. It'll really help the show's growth, and it's been a project that I've been super proud of. But with all that said, Thank you guys for watching again, and I will see you guys next time, perhaps for a preseason breakdown. Peace!